I'm always surprised when I talk about something that I think everyone already knows because I've talked about it a million times, and I still get people that are like, I had no idea about this. And I'm like, but I talk about it like all the time. And so we think that it's always maybe the exact same people that are seeing everything, but sometimes the people who see your stories today are different from the people who are seeing your stories next week. It might be the same amount, but you're not probably reaching the exact same people. So repetitiveness is also key for some things and getting an idea in people's heads.
Great point. I love that point. I know you guys have tuned in for how to let's repurpose our IG stories to IG stories and from them. So we're going to kind of go back and forth. I had the amazing Taylor joining me from Flair Digital Marketing. You guys are just now joining me. And we are going to kind of go back and forth and share our top 3 tips on how to share to IG stories. First, I would love to let you be first with your first strategy in regards to how to share to IG stories.
The first way is your typical direct share. So whether it's pushing your post, your reel, your carousel, your video to your stories, but it's all about the way you're doing it. I see so many people just throwing it up there and putting that new post sticker above it. And probably it's not doing much because people are busy, people are scrolling, they want something to draw them in, they need a reason to do something. And so if you're just putting that up there, they're probably going to scroll past it. So my tip is to always lead with value of some kind, whether it is providing some insight before. So you could start by asking a question like, are you resharing your posts to your stories? And then you could say, I'm sharing 3 tips in my new post. And it's going to warm up them to the idea of needing that information because they're like, well, no, I'm not doing that. So now I want these tips. And so this works for really everything. And I do this with all my clients as well. And it really does help. It also really boosts your story views to have that pull in there. And then with that, you can also expand on your post that you've posted. So if in your post, you're posting about 3 reasons why you're not growing on Instagram, then you could go ahead and share tips as to how you can grow on Instagram in your story. So you're kind of stretching the piece of content, but also preparing them and showing them why that they would be interested in the content to begin with.
That's a really good one because you kind of give them a little bit more of a nudge of why you should actually check out my IG stories because you might get a little bit more information. That's a really good one. I like that. I think that's a great practice. And the way that you put it to kind of give them value that leads up to it, I think that's key. Once you just put it up and you just say, hey, I just posted, and you put the news sticker or not, people scroll past that so quick. You didn't tell them what it is and why they should click on it. So I love that advice in regards to giving them value. For mine, IG story highlights can be converted to Reels. That is a new recent feature that Instagram has announced. You could actually take some of the highlights that you have created to represent certain categories, take that and actually you just go onto the actual story, the IG story highlight, you go into that, and within the, I believe it's the 3 dots on the screen, you click that and you're able to convert to Reels. Listen, Instagram is all about the Reels right now. It's a Reels life on Instagram, and they're gonna try to tell you to convert any and everything. Sooner or later, you'll be able to convert a profile picture into a Reel. Take advantage of what they have right now, including the IG story highlights, and you could actually use that to create content from, which is amazing. You don't have to spend time creating content. It's right there on the phone. Take something that you've already done and convert it as a Reel. I would love to know, what is your second one?
Yeah, so the second one is reusing your ideas and not having to always come up with a unique idea. So for example, I post a lot of content that's sharing content ideas or real ideas. And so what I could do and probably should do is take those ideas and create a story that maybe happens every week and says, here's your 5 weekly content ideas. I don't have to come up with anything new. I'm simply taking what was in that content and throwing it together on a story. I suggest doing this with your most saved posts, shared reels, whatever content has done the best, and taking that and putting it into your stories, because people really do love that info in your stories too. And now with story likes, it's really important to put content that people want to like, because this is going to boost it even more. Yeah, you could also talk through a caption on your stories. So if you had a caption, you could just use it as a script and talk about it. If you had a carousel, you could just go right on Canva and resize it to the story size. And you can do this with super old content that people definitely haven't seen in a while if you're worried about talking about the same thing too much.
That's the second time that you mentioned using old content. And I think you guys got to take note of that, because what we naturally do, we post something, like if we post something today, it is almost completely forgotten about in 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
And we never revisit it. And I think that's a shame. We need to take, if we're taking time to create this content, why not dust it off maybe a month later, 3 months later, 6 months later, and actually reuse it? And I think Taylor's hitting you guys with some great points on how to take that old content and repurpose it in new ways, specifically right now on IG stories. I love the fact that you're using old contents, you know, and it's not just, when I say old content, I don't mean like what you posted last weekend, you know, which you can still do. What about if you did something like from a year ago and you revisit it? Is it still valuable? Has things changed? Has your thought and opinion changed on it? You can do something like that as well with what you're pitching. I love that idea.
I'm always surprised when I talk about something that I think everyone already knows, because I've talked about it a million times, and I still get people that are like, I had no idea about this. And I'm like, but I talk about it like all the time. And so we think that it's always maybe the exact same people that are seeing everything, but sometimes the people who see your stories today are different from the people who are seeing your stories next week. It might be the same amount, but you're not probably reaching the exact same people. So repetitiveness is also key for some things and getting an idea in people's heads.
Great point. I love that point. My number 2 for how to get content or repurpose content from IG stories: share the results of IG story stickers, such as polls or the question. It's such easy content that is naturally given to you by your audience. For example, if you ask them a question using a question sticker, let's just say, how was your weekend? You're going to get a good amount of responses. I don't know if you're going to get 5 or 10. You're going to get a couple of responses. Take those responses and repost them. You don't have to necessarily put the person's name if they don't want to be actually identified. But you can take the question, repost it, and then actually put some form of response to it on the IG story that you posted with that question, with that answer to the question displayed. It's a form of content, very easy to make, that you're using content that you've already created in the form of the IG sticker. Just reuse it. And if you want to go a little bit further, ask a person if they do want to be identified, and you can tag them on it. Very simple to do, very easy, and you can have fun with it, whether it's an IG story poll, a question, the slider, anything that gives you results, use that and create content from it. For more inspiration, I want to know, what is your last tip in regards to how to create and repurpose content to IG stories?
Yeah, so lastly is just reusing your brand assets in your photos and not overthinking it too much. We were talking about you always want to come up with new things, but I think the easiest way is to create a little album in your phone and save a picture of, well, save all your brand photos, save story-sized pictures of your brand colors, so you have easy to use backgrounds. You can create templates and then save them if you want to add like a special one for Q&As, and then just have them ready to go, so you don't always have to get ready for the day and show up on camera. Just reuse these same photos because it's going to save a ton of time. You can also take selfies and stuff ahead of time. If you got ready that day, take some selfies and then just use them in your stories later that week. People most likely aren't going to know if that's you today or if that was you 2 days ago. But the important part is that you're showing up and you're posting a story. And I think that's the easiest way to be consistent if you're not someone who naturally just picks up your phone all day to post a story.
It's easy to do. It saves you a ton of time. You could always be very different and creative and unique with each one that you put out. Really great one. I think that was a key one I think a lot of people can do right now. I have my last one for how to post from IG stories and repurpose content. IG stories shared as a post. Did you know that you can do that? There's actually a button.
No.
Where if you go to IG story, if you go to any IG story, it gives you the option to share it as a post. Not many people do that, and it is so easy to do. Nonetheless, you now created content from one category to another, and you're just doing it with the same content you created. You save time, you save energy, and sometimes, as we were stating earlier, not everybody watches the stories and not everybody watches feed posts. This is a great way to kind of reverse what we naturally do. Naturally, what we do is we put it to our feed posts and then submit it to IG stories. This is a way to do it in the opposite way. And that is my last one. So guys, I hope you guys were able to take notes on all of the strategies that myself and Taylor just introduced to you guys on how to repurpose IG stories to and from that specific category. IG stories are very powerful. They are not going away. 500 million active users, I believe monthly, are using IG stories. It is something that you guys should focus on and practice. I'm not saying you got to put 20 IG stories up daily. Please do not do that. Use it, utilize it. Best practices that Ted and myself has just provided for you guys. And I think if you guys do that, you guys are going to succeed. And as I always say, you're going to help step your gram up in the best way possible. If you got any value from that conversation with myself and Taylor from Flair Digital Marketing, you know what to do. Hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can be reminded of when I drop all of my latest YouTube videos. Now that you know how to repurpose Instagram stories to and from the platform, how about we work a little bit on increasing the reach of those very same Instagram stories? I got just a video for you. Hit that video on the screen right now so that you can begin to learn how to increase your reach with IG stories. Got the perfect strategy for you, so check it out. Until the next time, it's Heston of Social Varsity. See you.